on the base of the game, I went, all right, I think there's stuff here that I like, but the game is a bit more difficult than I like, or just more punishing than I like.
Right.
So I went in and I started looking at mods.
On a recent episode of the show, you told me that you were interested in talking to me more about modding, because I am not huge on it, except for the few times that I did and the internet got angry at me.
Modding is something I really enjoy, for the most part, doing with games, and not every game, obviously, because some games are just great or don't support mods. That's fine too. Like, there are mods, for instance, for World of Warcraft, which we are all aware that I play a lot. But the mods for World of Warcraft are mostly just add-ons that can add functionality, but not change anything gameplay-wise. So it could be like UI stuff, or it could be for sorting things and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. Mostly just making things more convenient for the player.
Right. But none of them can affect the game because this is a multiplayer game. So you're not allowed to have a thing that would automatically play the game for you, make it easier, or make it so you could essentially cheat.
Yeah.
So that's a little different. But like I enjoy modding in games that have a lot of potential with them.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, Skyrim is notable for having probably like 200,000 plus mods.
Yes.
There's well more than 20,000. I'm adding another 0 because I think there's probably like 200,000. And they do everything you can imagine, between adding an entire new gameplay experience, like a whole new realm, whole new ways to play the game, different ways to start the game, stories, dragons, models, visuals. Mods can do anything you want in the games. And I love that. Now, you don't really mod games a lot. You prefer to play them as is.
I want to be able to play the games the way that the designers intended them to be played, until the point where I'm like, I don't think I can do that. And that's usually the places where I would do mods, like Elden Ring, obviously, but the other one that I had talked about previously was with Baldur's Gate 3, because I just could never wrap my head around why you only had like a squad of 4 characters when there's so many centralized characters. And then the other example that I would give you is in places where I literally don't think I can play the game if I don't have mods, which was the case with like Gothic and Gothic 2, that are nigh on unplayable unless you have mods to fix the control and the interface. So
yeah. So for instance, with like Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
The mod that you use definitely threw the entire game's balance out the window.
The balance gets screwed, yeah. It's going to do that.
So for me, typically, I enjoy mods that... There's a couple different reasons I'll download a mod for a game. One of which are fixes, performance enhancements, things like that. This comes in handy with games like anything made by Bethesda.
Sure.
Usually there will be community patches that fix some of the bugs that Bethesda doesn't fix because they're stupid, performance issues, memory leaks, anything like that. So just really nice enhancements. So those are always great. They're very light, but they make the gameplay experience just a bit better. A second type of mod I enjoy are quality of life. Now, technically the first thing I said falls into that category a lot. So quality of life, for me, comes in the idea of like UI elements, perhaps.
Yeah.
Project Zomboid, for instance, has tons of mods, but one I enjoy is typically in that game you have little moodlets.
Yes.
That say, oh, I'm a bit hungry, or oh, I'm a bit of pain, or I'm a bit bored. And my brain goes, how hungry is a bit hungry?
Yeah.
Like, am I feeling I'm a little snacky? Am I feeling I could eat a whole fucking horse right now?
Right.
This doesn't tell me.
Am I a snack horse? Do I need a snack horse? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So for that, I have a mod that turns, instead of those moodlets, it tells you actually on like a scale of 1 to 100, like where you're depleting on your hunger, your thirst, where your health is, your stuff like that. And so I can look at it and go, all right, I'm a little hungry, but a little hungry means I'm at 90 out of 100.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can eat this bag of chips, which will add 9 to my hunger, and I'll be fine. And I don't have to sit there and kind of go, okay, I'm a little hungry. Do I eat this whole chicken, or am I really going to be fine if I just have a cookie?
Right, exactly. Quantify it better for me because I'm not getting that information from the
Right.
movements.
And I know the game vanilla is, supposed to be that kind of zombie survival, but I also understand that me as a person will know that I'm not hungry enough to eat 15 cheeseburgers, but I am hungry enough to eat one.
Right, exactly. So I can kind of understand those. There are definitely some times where I'll be playing a game, and occasionally I'll think to myself, man, if only there was like a mod so that I could easily like sort all of my chests at once, or something like that. Like just like the minutia part.
Those are quality of life too.
Yeah.
In a lot of, again, Bethesda games and Fallout and Skyrim,
Mhm.
I have mods that have UI overhauls for the inventory system that make it easier to look at and get your information with. It just makes it nice and less clutter feeling.
Right. I could definitely see. I don't know if I've seen so many of these, but just faster. Being able to do some things faster, like especially with survival crafting games and stuff, like when you're chopping down trees, like I don't care if it takes the same amount of stamina or the same amount of energy, but like if you could make it so that I could, get this tree down in 3 hits rather than 30 and just use the same energy or whatever, that would be cool.
As an example, Minecraft, there are mods that let you chop down the bottom of a tree with an axe and the entire tree breaks apart.
Oh, instead of hanging in the air like it does.
Yeah. And so that's fine. It'll take up more durability of your axe with it.
Sure.
Because it's like, yeah, you just chopped all the
whole
tree down. But it'll do that, which is really nice.
Yeah. Again, I would definitely consider that a quality of life improvement because I don't think that gives you a huge game-breaking advantage or anything.
Just a lot of time, it's just time saving, which I know the entire point of that game is to like do things and survive and whatnot and build. But like quality of life, I don't have to sit here spending 5 minutes chopping down a tree. I can instead just chop down a tree. So those are fun. I do enjoy my quality of life things. For like, again, Zomboid as an example, it has one that tells me like what all the skills actually do, what each rank of the skill will give me. Before it's just like, I had what was it, like sneaking 1 or stealth 1. I'm like, I don't know what this does. It's just being stealthy, and it tells you now in the mod that tells each rank gives you this much detection or lightness, or like at this rank of like automobile stuff you can do this stuff. So it tells you like so you can kind of plan. So those are fun. Those are just quality of life things that add information, things that let you view things and sort things better. I think are obviously a great boon, unless the game is trying to be like Tunic, for instance, and just supposed to be obscure.
Right.
Like, I would not play Tunic with a mod that told me everything that the book says without being able to do it myself in Tunic. Another mod type I enjoy are visuals.
Yeah, I know that you had a lot of visual improvements that you did on, like, Skyrim.
I think my Skyrim is sitting in 2K resolution, and everything's got just upgraded texture packs and models and looks. So it just looks so much nicer.
Yeah.
And that's especially good on the older games. Because, Skyrim's 2011. It's a bit crunchy when you play it normally. But throwing a couple mods in there, or a suite of mods that take everything and crank them up to a point at which it's like modern Skyrim. It's like, okay, this is visually stunning.
Yeah. I can kind of understand that. I'm trying to think if I've actually used that. Or, you know what? I think there was actually a mod that I got for Fallout 4 at one point through the Creation Labs, because back when they had Creation Club. But it was clear water. And so the cool thing is that you could actually see through the water, instead of having it all being murky, where you get underneath it, you can't see anything. And I was like, that's a quality of life and also a graphical improvement overall.
I've been playing a bit of modded Minecraft recently.
Mm-hmm.
And so shader packs, for instance. They just kind of take the game from the Minecraft graphics you're probably familiar with, and they just add shaders to it. So everything gets a little bit nicer looking, depending on what shaders you're using. A lot nicer looking. I'm not using any of the ones that are like realistic Minecraft, and it looks, that's super hyper realistic looking, but also really not good.
Yeah, and I don't even know what a hyper realistic Minecraft would look like, because it's literally a world made of blocks.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Just weird. It's kind of off-puttingly. But one of the things I actually really enjoy, visuals aside, things that add features to games that are in the spirit of the game itself being played.
Okay, yeah.
Now, again, Skyrim, there's a ton of these. There are overhauls for magic that keep it pretty much lore-friendly, but just do a better job. Adds more spells, adds different types, varieties. There's overhauls for the perk system. Using smithing as an actual valid playstyle itself, it's really interesting. But then also adding in weapons and armor, that gives me a lot more variety, but not being like, yes, we just added in this entirely broken thing.
The other level, I guess, if we were to go back to my Elden Ring example, that's what I would refer to as a catharsis mod. Which is mostly like, okay, game, you have insulted me for last time, and now I'm coming back with the power of mods to wreck your world so that I can feel some satisfaction at the end of this.
I don't typically break games with mods. I like to keep the game something I can play and still feel like I'm doing well in, without being like, yes, I made this super easy for myself.
And maybe that's the reason I don't usually play with them, because when I start looking for mods, it's mostly to be like, I don't like playing this, like, the way it is.
I wouldn't mod a game I wouldn't like playing in general. I think my example of this currently would be MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries. On the base of the game, I went, alright, I think there's stuff here that I like, but the game is a bit more difficult than I like, or just more punishing than I like.
Right.
So I went in and I started looking at mods, and I added a bunch of mods to it, probably like 20 mods, that just make the economy a bit more balanced, to make it so you can adjust some of the difficulty slightly. I turned down the damage I take just a little bit, because it was getting a little brutal. There's one that lets it so that if parts of my mech get blown up in battle, or my mech gets completely blown up, you don't have to then get a new arm for your mech afterwards.
Right.
Which is very roguelike in that sense, where it's yes, you got your arm and leg blown off, now you can't use the mech unless you put a new arm and new leg, which takes time and money and is just annoying to do. So I'm like, part of that mod goes, yeah, you can actually just turn this feature on, and when you are done with the battle, you will get those back on there, but they'll be damaged and they need to be repaired.
Sure, that's fine.
Yeah. So I'm like, that just saves the punishing aspect of losing all of these parts to my mechs, and just makes it so I can actually play the game and not feel so bad about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's especially at the beginning of the game, where it's I don't know what I'm doing or how this is doing, and I'm learning it, and it's that punishing. It's no. So mods for that were mostly to make the game more playable for me, because I was like, this feels like a game I'll really enjoy, and I've put about 100 hours into it currently. So yeah, I really enjoy the game,
right?
But the mods are the reason that I can enjoy it to the same level that I do.
Right. I can totally appreciate the idea of an enhanced experience like that, where you're able to add stuff to it that just makes it better. There is another genre of mods that I've always been fascinated with, but unfortunately doesn't always seem to really take off to fruition, which is literally the like modded expansion of the game. Which I guess if we were looking at like Fallout 4 is probably a really good example of this, because there's been several projects in order to vastly expand that world, like Fallout London and Fallout Miami, which
I think
came out in
Skyrim is an even better
parts.
example because you get
Oh, that's right.
Black Lake.
Yeah, Black Lake. Wasn't it the was it the Shimmering? No, the Somerset Isles, I think, was one of
Yeah,
them.
it's been out so much longer, and people have just
Yeah.
gone, we're gonna fucking add everything.
Yeah, it was the whole project was like Tamriel Complete or something like that, or Tamriel
Yeah,
Unleashed, something like that. Yeah. Yeah, great idea. I think I played 1 or 2. I think I did the one that was about the Khajiit homeworld. I can't remember what that was called. But then, of course, there's also the ones that end up becoming their own games altogether. Because there was the one that was about, what was it, Atlantis? I can't remember the one that it was called, but it was actually, it started as a mod for Skyrim, and then it ended up becoming its whole own game that became like an award-winning game in itself because it had really unique mechanics. But those things I find really fascinating. The one that I was I'm still meaning to play was a mod for Fallout 4 that was about revisiting New Vegas, where they had a mod team that took parts of New Vegas, brought them into Fallout 4, and then modified them because it's later in the timeline by that point. So that you get to see kind of like parts of the Mojave and then the Vegas Strip, but like after everything that happened with Hoover Dam. And I was like, oh, that would be cool to see. Basically, we have like your user interface, your quality of life kind of stuff. You have your graphics improvements that you get to do. You have your actual modifications to the game world that might just make things more interesting or more fun. Yeah.
We'll tell you, one mod type, or just generally just one mod that I almost always add to a Bethesda game, because I can't be fucked to deal with it without the fucking mod. I almost always, if not at first, or somewhere into the game, I will download a mod that makes it so that miscellaneous items and crafting items do not take up any weight. If you're listening to this and going, what? That just breaks the game. No, it doesn't.
No,
it makes it so that
keeps it from getting
I
slowed
don't
down.
have to go back to Corvega 15 times because I'm a fucking hoarder, and
Right.
I will pick up every piece of steel I find.
In your defense, Bethesda in Fallout 4 made literally everything pick upable, even if it
Yeah.
has no real reason to be picked up.
Yeah. And so it's like, I don't know if this is useful or not. I'm gonna pick it up.
Right.
But for crafting materials, it's like, I need all of these. These are things I'm going to collect, and I would come back here to get these, but I cannot be bothered to waste my time gaming by returning to some place multiple times to make looting trips. I will go to a place once, I will loot it, and I will hopefully never return to the place.
Yeah. I got used to, like, in Fallout New Vegas, I got used to the fact that the way they did crafting in that was that there were certain items. You didn't break it down to, you know, these are acids and adhesives and all of that. It was just that there were certain items and you could put them together and you made things. And I basically just knew what my shopping list was for the kinds of items that I wanted to make, which was mostly repair kits. And I'd be like, okay, I know I need Wonder Glue, I need a wrench, I need duct tape. These are things that I specifically need, and I do not have to pick up anything else in this world. And I could just leave it be. And so once you start to understand that, but yeah, unfortunately with like Fallout 4, everything has valuations of basically the base components. So you could technically use anything, you just break it down and it serves for something eventually.
Yeah. And so, especially with that, then it's like, all right, well, there's all this clutter, and if it's useful, I'm going to pick it up. If I don't know if it's useful, I'm going to pick it up because maybe it's useful.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like miscellaneous items and crafting materials. Do not weigh anything. I don't want to make multiple trips. I want to be able to craft the things I want to craft. And so this is like a no-brainer for me. It's like, if I have a mod that can make these things, and sometimes food too, because that's also just one of those things. that's just lying around everywhere and you pick it up because it's useful, but then it just adds weight because you're carrying 50 wedges of cheese.
I get the strong sensation that some of the most common reasons why people turn to mods are things like weight capacities and the minutia of doing things where you have to grind through stuff. Like, oh, I have to pick up these 500 cans in order to get the crafting materials so that I could do the thing. It's like, could we make that 50 so that I don't have to, or 5, so I don't have to just spend all of my game time doing the most monotonous stuff. And then the whole thing with, weight capacities, storage capacities, where it's like, I just don't want to have to spend all of my time doing micromanagement in my backpack.
And I don't usually go for ones that make it so I can carry an infinite amount of things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I'm going to go back to loot some armor and weapons because I've been carrying a lot and I can't carry that, I will do that.
Mm-hmm.
These are items that I view as sellable.
Yeah.
Since armor and weapons are things that I can break down or are sellable, or things I might want to collect. But like the rest of it, no. I still want some capacity so I don't just carry everything on me at all times, but I don't want so little capacity that me picking up some steel and crafting materials is just going to weigh me down.
Going back to the first segment, do you know how they deal with weight and capacity in Green Hell?
They don't.
No, actually, you have both weight limits, so that you can only carry so much stuff before you start to get encumbered. But then also, you have certain sections of your backpack that are for certain kinds of items, and you have to be able to spatially organize them in those sections.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a thing that Survival Craft does. I forget about that.
It's both of them. You both have weight limits and also actual spatial capacities that you have to manage, but also for different things. Like you have one section that's for like foods, and you have a different section of your backpack that's like specifically for like crafting materials, stuff like that. So they have to be kept in those. So yeah, I could totally understand if people modded that so that that's not as egregious. But yeah, basic problems with games getting fixed with mods, I understand, but I think my biggest issue with that is if it's an inherent problem with the game that's not making it fun, I feel like it's on the developers to be able to make the game work.
Sure, but I also feel like if people have made things that you specifically are having an issue with, and I can fix that issue, MechWarrior being my primary example here,
Sure.
where I don't want it as punishing as the game at base can be.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really helpful to be able to have these mods that go, hey, we've made this adjustment and you can turn these on or off if you will, but like these are things that you can now do, and it's like, yes, I want these things.
I want them all, and I want it now.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And again, if there's a game you think you like and you try to play it and there's something that's off about it,
Yeah.
a mod could always help. So I enjoy modding. I don't do it for every game. I do it for a bunch of games that have not the ability.
Potential?
Potential, yeah, that's a good word.
Yeah. They have the potential to do something interesting. Yeah, but
Like
you can't get over the
the
hurdle.
Live Another Life or another starting mod for Skyrim. It's like, I've already played Skyrim through on the main storyline. What if I'm not
Yes.
Dragonborn this time?
Yeah. And more importantly, what if I didn't have to do that stupid cart ride every time?
Oh, I see, you're finally awake.
Oh god. No, this is the next 10 minutes of my life. And then I finally get to create my character, and the next 15 minutes of my life are getting through the cave so that I can get out to the actual game. Just a skip intro button would have fixed that whole thing when you go on another
Have you noticed
playthrough.
they do that with almost every Bethesda game? I think Fallout 4 is like the only one that didn't go, hey, here's a 10-minute unskippable. I mean, they kind of did in Fallout 4.
Yeah, because you're trapped in the cryo chamber and you can't get out.
Well, no. I meant before that, because you can move around and interact with things after you make your character.
Yeah, you can.
And then you go there, then you've got this little scene, then you got... But it's still very much in the same way that everything else did it.
Yeah, it might as well be an unskippable cutscene because there's really nothing to do there except wait for the part where you have to go get ferried off to the vault. So yeah, Bethesda has a tendency to really like their intros, big, long, drawn-out intros. Fallout 3 always has to like that long growing up process in the vault. But then New Vegas, because that's Obsidian. Obsidian's like, yeah, your character gets shot in the head. Now you wake up in Doc Mitchell's house. Make your character. Okay, bye. And then you're just off to the game after that. I understand the reason for mods. I want to be able to play the games as intended until the point where I get frustrated with the game and I'm like, I know exactly what would make this game more interesting and fun for me, and I'm going to see if I can find a mod for it. Otherwise, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to play with it.
I feel like you should add some mods to some of the Bethesda games.
I feel like maybe it'd be interesting to try adding mods to games that I thought would be interesting and then didn't end up playing because I did not enjoy them, and see if there might be...
You have an example of a game currently that would fit that bill?
So, there is a game studio, very good game studio, that I think is pretty much dead now because that's how this stuff works now, but it was Arcane. Arcane Studios, who are very famous for Dishonored and Prey, but there was a game that they made before that, and I really wanted to try it, and I finally got around to trying it recently, and it was a very old game called Arx Fatalis. Arx Fatalis...
Mercy.
Yeah, Arx Fatalis was a game that came out the same year as, like, Morrowind, but it was also a fantasy adventure game, and I'm going to tell you this, great idea, great concept that you're lost in this giant dungeon, this big underground dungeon and everything. Nigh on unplayable because the control schemes and the user interface and how you do things in the game is so obscure and outdated. And the fact that the game is very outdated in how it's presented to you is one of the reasons why I was like, I don't think I can play this. But I don't think there's anything for it to improve that.
Arx, A-R-X, Fatalis, as in Fatalis?
Yeah, F-A-T-A-L-I-S.
HD texture pack.
Yeah, but not...
Long, making it less linear and add enough features to increase its replayability. Item stacks, texture overhaul, using upscaling. Most of these are just texture packs. It doesn't look like it has a ton, though.
But I will say, the reason why I know that you weren't going to find that is because I did actually look for some mods myself, and I couldn't find anything to try and improve user interface on Arx Fatalis, because anybody who starts playing it will be like, what the... like, what is going on here? Great idea for a game, probably worked really well back in, like, the year 2000, 2001 when it came out, but on modern hardware, oh my god, what is happening here? I can't kill the rat. I can't figure out how to kill this one stupid-ass rat. How do I make these spells work? You gotta, like, draw the symbols, but draw different parts of the symbols? It's like, it's not working. You gotta give me a better user interface here so I understand what's happening. That would have been really good. For old games like that, it especially would be really great if they could upgrade the user interface and make it better for more compatible for modern hardware. And
anyways, I just kind of want to go on like reasons to mod games, in my opinion. There are also a entire subsect of mods that add just sexy things to games that I don't even generally go into.
Oh yeah, no, there's just nude mods.
Yeah, it's, even Power World has tons of those, and it's kind of disturbing. I will say there are a couple times where I will use some of the body mods and stuff like that for just improving player models and textures.
I have actually done this too, because sometimes they have to have improved body models in order for different skins for different costumes and stuff like that, or outfits. So sometimes like that. But it is the reason why I never understood art, like when people got upset about like Stellar Blade, because the character in Stellar Blade didn't have it had too much clothing on. It's like, it's called a mod. I'm sure they've already made one.
Plenty, for sure. But yeah, for like any of those Skyrim, Fallout, there's mods that just make the NPCs and the player models not look so garbage. The only downside is that I think there's only like one of them for the male models,
Oh yeah.
and it's like I don't remember what it's called, but essentially it's big as Dingus. It's
Perfect.
like, yeah, I need one for the male models too, but I'm not sure I'm willing to download the one that just gives everyone giant dicks.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well,
It's like
you
it's a
know,
little unnecessary.
it is a little unnecessary. But what if you need to hold a third gun?
You know what? That I would probably install that then. I can pee on things. Anyways, this has been a little talk about mods. I think you should try modding games. Maybe some game if you can find one that you want to play and weren't really sure about it or want to see if there's a specific feature. Let us know in the comments if you mod games or if you are a purist like Nathan tends to be. Again, Nathan, you're not really a fan of Minecraft, but I feel like modded Minecraft, depending on the mod, might be something you'd actually enjoy.
Minecraft only got ruined for me by small children that insisted on playing it with me.
Fair enough.
It made
Some
me not
cheaters.
want to play the game anymore. It's pretty much what it amounts to. Let's put it into creative mode. Oh, okay. No, we're down into survival mode so that I can kill you. Okay, back into creative mode. Oh, God. I don't
Anyways,
want to play with these kids anymore.
stop playing with
Fraser.
younger folks in games, yeah. Mods.
If you have some special mods that you enjoy, please let us know about them in the comments down below.